All right, let's talk about one of the most exciting and, let's be honest, terrifying journeys a person can take, starting a business. It's not just about having some flash of brilliance, it's about actually having a map to turn that spark into something real, something that can actually grow and succeed. Today, we're going to walk through that map together.
Come on, you know you have. We've all been there, right? That moment in the shower, or maybe you're just driving and bam, you think, why doesn't this exist yet? Or someone really needs to fix this problem. It's that little spark of possibility that gets the whole thing started.
But here's the thing. Turning that incredible feeling into an actual, business that pays the bills, that's where almost everyone gets stuck. The good news is, there's a path. There's a structured way that successful founders think and act, and we're calling it the Founder's Roadmap.
So here's our plan for today. We're going to break this down into 5 key stages. First, we'll talk about the why, your motivation for even doing this. Then we'll figure out how to tell if your idea is a real opportunity. After that, we get to the tough part, the reality check. Is it even viable? Then we'll talk about your business model, the blueprint for how it'll all work. And finally, we'll cover those last few steps right before you launch. Sound good? Let's jump in.
Okay, first up, the call to adventure. Before a single dollar is spent or a product is designed, someone has to make the decision to take that leap. So I do it. What on earth pushes a person to trade a steady paycheck for total uncertainty?
Well, the reasons are all over the map, but they usually boil down to these fundamental human drives. That desire to be your own boss is huge. It's about freedom and control. Then there's the need to chase your own ideas, to build something exactly the way you see it. And of course, the money can be a big motivator. But for a lot of folks, it's even deeper. It's about loving what you do every day, constantly learning and growing, and maybe, just maybe, leaving a positive mark on the world. Now let's get one thing straight. Not every startup is trying to be the next Google. In fact, probably the most common type of new business is what we call a salary substitute firm. Think about a great local restaurant owner or a talented web designer who quits her agency to go freelance. The goal here isn't to take over the world. It's to create a great job for yourself and make a good living doing something you're skilled at.
Then you've got lifestyle firms. For these entrepreneurs, the business is really just a way to fund a passion. Like the ski bum who starts a guide service in Colorado so he can be on the slopes every single day, or the travel writer who figures out how to get paid for exploring the world. The business is built around the life they want to live. Pretty cool, right?
And finally, we get to the ones that grab all the headlines, entrepreneurial firms. These are the ventures you read about in the news. They are all about innovation, about scaling up big and fast. They see an opportunity to bring something totally new to the market, and they go for it. These are the companies that disrupt whole industries, where the risks are huge, but so are the potential rewards.
So you figured out your why. You know what's driving you. Now comes what is maybe the trickiest part of this whole journey, the spark of genius. This is where we figure out the difference between just another idea and something that could be a real business.
This is so important. We have to understand the difference between an idea and an opportunity. See, an idea is just a thought. It's that wouldn't it be cool if moment. But an opportunity? That's an idea that's actually plugged into reality. It's a real need that exists right now in the world. And trust me, thousands of startups have failed because they were built on a really cool idea that nobody actually wanted to pay for.
So how do you know if you've got a real opportunity? Well, it's not just a gut feeling. A true opportunity has to pass a 4-point inspection. First, it's got to be attractive, meaning you can actually make money from it. Second, it has to be timely. The world has to be ready for it now. Third, it needs to be durable. It can't just be some passing fad that's going to disappear next year. And finally, it has to be anchored to a real product or service that adds real value to someone's life. It has to solve a problem.
And where do these golden opportunities even come from? Well, they're born in what we call the opportunity gap. Think of it as the empty space between what's currently out there and what's suddenly possible because of changes in the world. Learning to see those gaps, that is the true superpower of an entrepreneur.
And these gaps don't just appear out of nowhere. They're created by huge forces shifting around us, like economic forces. When people have more spending money, suddenly there's a market for new things. Social forces. Think about the massive trend towards health and wellness that created a billion-dollar industry. Technology is the obvious one. The smartphone created the entire App Store economy out of thin air. And even new laws or regulations can create huge needs for new kinds of businesses overnight.
Let's make this super clear with examples you'll definitely know. For years, you either got fast food that was, fast food, or you went to a sit-down place that took forever. That was a gap. And into that gap jumped places like Chipotle. Good food, served fast. Or how about this one? People working night shifts couldn't go to the gym. Gap. Solution: 24-hour fitness centers. See? These businesses didn't invent a new human need, they just spotted one that wasn't being served. Okay, so you've done it. You found a gap, you've got a killer idea to fill it, you're excited. You can see the whole thing in your mind. But hold on a second. And I mean really, because just because you have a good idea that fills a gap does not automatically mean you have a good business idea. It's time to get real.
And that brings us to stage 3, the reality check. This is where you have to take off the dreamer hat for a little while and put on your skeptic hat. We're going to run your idea through a process called a feasibility analysis. The whole point is to figure out if this thing can actually work before you bet the farm on it.
The process is basically a series of gates. You start with your big idea and you test it against 4 different areas. If you get a go in all 4, you can proceed with confidence. But if you get a no-go in even one of them, that's a massive red flag telling you to stop, rethink, or maybe even walk away. This step alone can save you so much time and money.
So what are these 4 areas? It really comes down to asking 4 brutally honest questions. First, the product itself. Do people actually want this? Will anyone get excited about it? Second, the market. Is this an industry that's growing or is it shrinking? Are there enough potential customers to even build a business? Third, you. Does your team have the skills to pull this off? Do you have the resources? And finally, the money. Do the numbers make sense? Is this thing actually financially viable? You have to be tough on yourself here.
Phew! Okay, your idea made it through the reality check. It's viable. Congratulations. That's a huge step. Now we get to the really creative part. Stage 4 is all about creating the blueprint, your business model. This isn't just about what you sell. It's the whole engine that's going to make your company run.
So what the heck is a business model? Think of it as the story of how your business works. It's the master plan that explains how all the pieces fit together, how you're going to compete, what you need to operate, who you'll partner with, how you'll find customers, and, most importantly, how you'll make money.
And you know what? There's an amazing tool for this called the Business Model Canvas. It is a total game changer because it lets you map out your entire business on just one sheet of paper. It forces you to think about things like your value proposition. What value are you actually delivering to people? Or your customer segments? Who exactly are you selling to? Filling this out gives you a bird's-eye view of your whole plan, and it can show you the weak spots before they become big problems.
We've come so far. We started with the why, we found an opportunity, we made sure it was viable, and we designed the blueprint. Now we are right at the edge, the final stage before this thing goes from paper to reality, preparing for launch. This is the final checklist. These are the last but absolutely critical hurdles to clear. First, you get your legal house in order, form the company, get the paperwork done. Then you do one last, deep look at the financials. Then, and this is huge, you build your team. You can't do this alone. And finally, you go out and get the money you need to actually get the doors open. And there you have it, from that little flicker of an idea all the way to a full-blown launch plan. That's the founder's roadmap. Look, it is not an easy path. It is full of hard questions, but it gives you a framework, a guide for turning that spark into something real, something that can actually make a difference. So now, the only question left is, the roadmap's in your hands. What are you going to build with it?